Okay. And so, with Tvach everyone, Mitzvah Shabbos Truma, wonderful Pasha when Baruch Hu says, give Truma to me, to my name, Lishmi. Amazing, amazing. There's so many um, instances in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu turns the table, as it were. And I don't see that the focus is not very good. I don't know why this is. I have no clue. Anyhow, so there is quite a few instances in which Kadosh Baruch Hu turns the table, as it were, and becomes the receiver. Kadosh Baruch Hu is the ultimate giver, obviously. And Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't need anything from us. But that Kadosh Baruch Hu keeps on setting things in such a way that make it so that he is the one who is the receiver and we are the giver. So we can see it in Truma, we can see it in Korbanos, we can see it in Tefillah, all these instances, and the ultimate, the reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu does it that way is something which is called Nesias Rosh. You know, in the Shkolim it says Nesias Rosh Bnei Israel, elevate the head of Bnei Israel. So the question remains, well, what does it mean, elevate the head of Bnei Israel? Just 1 second. The Nesias Rosh is a very special kind of conduct on the part of the ultimate giver to elevate the position, the sense of the receiver, how the receiver views himself and views the relationship. To understand it a little bit deeper, let's say that there's a wealthy person and a poor person. A poor person comes to the wealthy guy, and the fact is that when the poor person comes to the wealthy person, so the exchange can go. I mean, depends on how oblivious the wealthy person is to what's really going on in the world. So there can be that he's knocking on the door and they say the rich person is asleep now. He doesn't see people now. Come later. And then you come later, he says, well, he left. Whatever it is. In other words, the poor person feels like, like basically worthless. But then there is a higher level where the poor person comes to the house of the well-to-do person, and the rich guy opens up the door and sees him and gives him money, says, and he goes away. Okay, it's very clear, who is the giver, who is the receiver. The giver does not go out of his way to find the poor person. Above that, there's another level where the poor person comes in, and the rich person says, "Come in. Tell me about why did you come to me?" And he listens to him, and he says to the poor person, "Would you like to drink something?" And obviously the poor person feels a lot more comfortable but it's still very, very much a clear situation about who is the giver and who is the receiver. Then you have a still higher situation in which the poor person comes to the wealthy guy, and the wealthy guy looks at him and says, "Wow, you are just the person I wanted to see. I'm so happy you came. Come, sit down. I need to ask you something. I need you to do me a favor. I'm in a bind, and I can't make up my mind what my next step should be." And he tells him, "Listen, um, it could be, the guy can tell the rich person can say, listen, my daughter is so and so, and I don't know what to do. Maybe you have experience in that." Now, what happens is that what the rich person has done, he has elevated the poor person to the point where he himself is a giver. This is called Nesias Rosh. He elevates his status, so there's more equality between them. And that makes the poor person feel much better about himself. I'm not just a moocher. Enachinami, I know that I'm the poor person, but whatever it is. But the wealthy guy is it's like I feel much more as an quote unquote as an equal. This is called Nesias Rosh. This kind of thing happens in Truma, like Kodesh Baruch Hu with the Karbonis, and Bechlal, in the whole relationship of Kodesh Baruch Hu and Am Yisrael. Whereas Kodesh Baruch Hu is telling Am Yisrael, I need you. Kodesh Baruch Hu says, I am your king. When Kodesh Baruch Hu says, I am your king, this is a Nesias Rosh Shem Kenoisen. It's like the ultimate Nesias Rosh. What's a Nesias Rosh in this? Nesias Rosh in this is that Kodesh Baruch Hu can very easily be a ruler. And a king is someone who is dependent upon his subjects to be a king. En melech belo am. There's no such thing as a king that doesn't have a nation. A king without a nation is not a king. It's the Shlomo Melech saw the entire spectrum from the highest to the lows. That he got to a certain point in time that he was only king over his stick. That's the only thing that was subjected to him. Everything else was he went down from everything. So in other words, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a melech upon us. Means that he's telling us, I need you. I need you to be my subject. Because if you are not my subject, then I'm not a king. It's a tremendous thing, and we can see it. We can see it in of Tshuva, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu says on Rosh Chodesh, Havio like kapara. Says bring one chatas Rosh Chodesh is why do we need chatas Rosh Chodesh? What did we do wrong on Rosh Chodesh? The Baruch Hu says, Avio like kapara shemiatiti esalavon. Bring a kapara for me, an atonement for me that I have created the Yetzer Hara. This is like the most utmost chesed Kodesh Baruch Hu could have ever done with us. Because that gives an opening for each and every one of us when we do something which is wrong, to do tshuva. Because without it, I mean, how can you do tshuva? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everywhere. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created me. He sustains me. He keeps me healthy. He gave me children. He gave me a wife. He will give me a wife. Give him more children. I mean, give people wives that they needed. Give children. Kadosh Baruch Hu gives everything, and Kadosh Baruch Hu is Ein Sof. It can every single breath is a combination of Shem Havaya Baruch. Then 1,080 combinations of Shem Havaya that comes in every single rega in an hour. Kolon Shamata Lelka, every single breath praises Hashem. How can you do tshuva when you go against somebody who is you are totally on his life support 24/7? HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying, bring kapara on me as if he did something wrong. That already gives us a piece from pay. We can have an excuse. HaKadosh Baruch Hu did something that that needs kapara. Well, so we can also come and say, listen, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is Ein Sof, who is infinity, needs kapara for something. That opens up a possibility of rectification of doing tshuva. So the beginning is Pashas Truma. Kodesh Baruch Hu says, give me from the goodness of your heart. Give me lishmi. Okay, let's take a quick look here. Hold on, I think that all right, here we go back. So with this, without the shame, we're starting with the Sipurey Baal Shem Tov this week, Elul by the Baal Shem HaKodesh. Let's just mute you guys for a minute, and then we will open up the microphone. The Talmidim of Baal Shem HaKodesh prepare themselves for Ma'ariv of Yom Chum. They were standing by some medrash and they're waiting for the Rebbe, for the Baal Shem HaKodesh to come in. I think this is probably one of the more famous stories about Baal Shem HaKodesh. Baal Shem HaKodesh comes to Beit Medrash in his usual hour, but he's just standing there and he's thinking, and he's not moving. Obviously, nobody dares say anything. It was a long time. Hashem was standing like that, and then, as if he woke up, and he opens the siddur, and his face is glowing. Simcha. The tefillah was also different than any other time. Baal Shem Tov says, standing there, and he's davening with great arichos and great length. It's obvious that something special had happened. Then the davening, everybody got around him, waiting to hear from him what was going on. And he started telling him, we see this theme recurring. Baal Shem HaKodesh is telling about things that are happening at that point in time somewhere else in the world. Everything is open to him. And there's a specific lesson to be learned from every one of those instances. So he says there's a village not far from Mezhibosh. There's a Jew that grew up, was educated in a warm Jewish home, but he got older, got himself a smartphone, whatever, and he started making friends on Facebook, maybe, with the Goyish kids. And slowly, he joined them and felt more comfortable with them until he became like one of them and totally just shook off Yiddishkeit from him. And so many years passed. The person left the area where he was born, and he went to live amongst the goyim. Just lived like a total goy. No, and over the years he totally forgot the Jewish way of life. And this took place for 30 years. For 3 decades, just lived like a goy. One day, this Jew came to one of the Jewish towns for his business. Suddenly he sees there's a big to do the tumult around him. What's going on? So he went to one of the Jews. He says, "What's going on here?" So the Jew, he thought it was a guy. He says, "We're preparing now for an amazing Yom Tov, a very important Yom Tov that we call Rosh Hashanah. Jewish, tradition. This is when the world was created. That's the day that the world is being judged." Now, the words of this simple people really beat the heart and the nefesh of this Jew. This, you know, maybe it was the word he says by us, that made it clear to him, that kind of chasm that is open between him and where he came from. So, nevertheless, he kept on strolling amongst the various stalls in the market, and memories from his childhood started coming up. And he had an amazing longing through the days of old when he was a kid. He remembered Shabbosim and Yemim Tovim, Keis Shofar in the Shul, and the Kedusha that was hovering over the Spalalim. And he really choked up. He felt like, you know, he was incredibly emotional, and suddenly he felt the the cut between the world that he used to have and the world that he has now. How he exchanged a world which is filled with spirituality and filled with meaning for a life of fun and games and longings to his childhood. And as he's going out at the outskirts of the village, he found himself standing in front of the shul, the synagogue of the town. And the day was ending, sunsets, darkness is set on the area, and the voices of tefillah, started sounding out. And the voices sounded so close. And he stood there outside, with a boiling heart, and you're looking at the Jews that are inside the shul. And he had an unbelievable urge to go in and join them. But he looked at the way he looked like a goy, total goy. But the inner turmoil that he felt was impossible to withstand. So he went to the Ezras Nashon and he hid behind the curtain. And he was looking, and when the Chazan said, "V'hu racham yichaper avon," Yishbochu is all merciful and will atone all the aviris, he was shaking. Everything was so familiar. He wanted to join the tefillah, but he just couldn't remember anything. Forgot the words of the tefillah completely. Then he's lost. And so he started crying. When the last of the mispalim left the shul, the person took a siddur and started davening. And he put together with the words of the siddur words that came from his own heart. He says, "Abba Shalom, I know that in this world there's no bigger sin than I am." He says, "But I know that you are all merciful and all forgiving. And I beg you, please forgive me and my sins and my crimes. I will not repeat my crimes. I want to come back. Please receive me." And in the Tefillah and Charot of that, he made an immense rash in the Shemayim. And the Baal Shem Kodesh told his Talmidim that the tefillah of this lost Jew, that seems like that's it, he's lost to the Jewish nation, went up to Kisa Kovid. And together with that tefillah, he says, came up tefillahs that were waiting for hundreds of years to ascend. So Baal Shem Tov said, I saw what was going on in the heart of this Jew. And I waited for his tefillah. I wanted to daven together with him. That's the reason why I pushed off the tefillah today. But today, Baruch Hashem, we're zeichet to daven with Baal Tshuva. And our tefillah has arrived together with his tefillah before the Rebbeinu Shalom, complete, straight on. There are quite a few things that we need to learn from this particular Maisa. As we know, there's so many stories about Shem Tov with the simple people and so forth and so on. But we already know that this is part of what this is about. It's not just, the Baal Shem HaKodesh being democratic, so like the simple people, everybody's worth it, which is Bavada is true. The fact that Baal Shem HaKodesh has seen what he has seen is because the tzaddik sees everybody. The tzaddik emes sees every single person. He sees you, he sees me, he sees every single one of us, all the time. It's one of the hardest things for a person to imagine because I can't do it. Heck, I don't even know what's in my own heart, let alone somebody else's heart. But the more spiritual you get, the more you care about your fellow Jew, the more you can feel them. The more you love them, the more you feel them, because when you love them completely, you are completely one with them. The tzaddik can feel like Baal Shem HaKodesh can feel what's in the heart, as he said before, what's in the heart of every single Jew. But the nekuda that two very important nekudas that are worth making and remembering. One is the fact that the world is on a balance. The Rambam says 50% schos, 50% choiv. You do one mitzvah, you turn the entire world, the kaf schos. Person does an avera, Pascal turns the whole world, kaf choiv. But so that means that when I look at myself and I see that vis-a-vis anybody, basically, I mean, I'm no big shakes, really not. Besides, being what's my position, what's my status, what's my this, there are things that I know between me and me, which better stay between me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the tzaddik, that gives me the feeling that, come on, let's be realistic. There's no such thing as being realistic because we don't know what reality is. The fact that you can be in the midst of, well, it can be, for something, it can be in the midst of a torrent of tumah mamish, like this Jew. But it's not just for him, because it may seem to us, okay, there's something like that. I mean, if he's doing a turn for the good, Avada is changing something very, very dramatic. But me, it's more a matter of like, I don't feel like davening so much. I don't feel like this so much. So I'm gliding along. And with the koyach of the tzaddik, something awakens in me. The Baal Shem Tov said, this is what this Jew was, and this is what happened to him. This is oirus l'tshuva. That comes from the fact that the tzaddik looks at him. And it comes to your mind, and there is a certain kind of, you can feel a certain kind of bitterness. Like, what's the story with me? I mean, I can run fast. I can really get embroiled very, very quickly with the of this world, the important one, the unimportant one, whatever. But ultimately, if I lean back a little bit, this is what his weirdness is for. You put yourself in state of quiet and you let the voice, Kodesh Baruch Hu, the voice that comes to you from the tzaddik, and there's this bitter, like, what's going to be with me? And you lift up your eyes to Kodesh Baruch Hu, do me a favor, bring me to you. Save me from, from listening to people, fouling their mouth, because today the language of everybody is like, not to look what I'm not supposed to look at. Bring me closer to you. And it seems like a needle in a haystack. And it's just like a little bit, masha shebemasha, in the middle of a sea of helplessness, hopelessness, desolation. The koyach of that can not only save you, but can save the entire world. You don't know what the score is. It's very easy for a person to get frustrated with himself. And say, like, the first thing that you need to do in order to really make a step forward, to really get yourself into Avodas Hashem, is to agree to be who you are. What do you mean agree to be who you are? Who else can I ever be? No. Milchatchila. Other people, okay, let them be. Should be gebenched. There are all these geniuses, be gebenched. All these wealthy people, sollen gebenched. Everybody should be gebenched. Me, this is who I am. This is who I was, this is who I am, this is what I went through, this is my job, this is my lot in life. Baruch Hashem, I agree to be me because Baruch Hu needs me to be me. It's a very famous word, from Zisha, from Alnipol. It says, why? He says, the Chazal says, every person has to all the time ask himself, when will my deeds reach the deeds of my forefathers? So Risha says, what's the question is, when I ever going to be like Avraham Avinu? When am I ever going to be like Yitzchak Avinu? Yaakov Avinu? What chance do I have? He says, that's not the meaning. When will my deeds equal to those of my forefathers? He says, the meaning is, the deeds of Avraham Avinu is, Avraham Avinu had the capacity to become Avraham Avinu, and he became Avraham Avinu. Yitzchak Avinu had the capacity of becoming Yitzchak Avinu, and he made it to be Yitzchak Avinu. Yaakov Avinu had the capacity to become Yaakov Avinu, and he worked hard, and he became Yaakov Avinu. He says, in the Shemaim, nobody's going to ask me why I was not Avraham Avinu, and nobody's ever going to ask me why I wasn't Yitzchak Avinu, or why I wasn't Yaakov Avinu. But what they will ask me is, why were you not Zisha? Why were you not you? And it's an all too common pitfall. Nah, forget about me being, I can do it. Why? Why? Because in my mind, I have this idea that I need to be somebody else. I should really be better than that. Says who? You should only be you, with expectations of being you. Accepting requires tefillas, a lot of tefillas. Ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to accept being who you are. It also means, listen, the relation between me and my wife is wearing the pants in the family. Well, I don't know many people where the wife is not wearing the pants in the family. It's very rare. So, in all healthy homes, the wife is wearing the pants in the family. Yeah, but I don't want to. Okay, you don't want to. It's fine. When you accept yourself for who you are, you accept others for who they are. It's not how dare they, how could they. It's not about that. They didn't dare, and they didn't could, they didn't can, they didn't will. They're simply being who they are, like you being who you are. Accept yourself, you'll accept them. A very nice life, a life of emes. That's the way to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The tzaddik is washing you, the tzaddik is there, and just cling on to that little regret and say, I wish, I wish, I wish. I want. And you'll get there. And if you don't get there, it's also good. It's such a profound point that, everybody knows. If you get to where you need to get, obviously it's good. Or even it's a second place, what do you mean? Third place, all right, it's also a bronze medal, whatever. But even when you didn't make it, it's also good because you wanted to. This idea in Torah Vav, it says, the equilibrium, boki ba'alocham, boki when you're up, boki when you're down. It means in every step in between. Always have the equilibrium. Keep your eyes on the goal, on Kodesh Baruch Hu. From every place where you are, this is where you need to read Kodesh Baruch Hu from. Because the tzaddik is with you. Tzaddik is with you. Don't worry about it. The koyach of the tzaddik, we went through defiled and verschmutzt and whatever you want to call it. On Thursday nights, we're learning Torah Ches in the second Chelik that talks about it more in depth. It's not a place to do it here. But you are under good care. Just keep on keeping on. Zat Hashem. Sometimes when you least suspect it, you are creating such an amazing esrotz on b'shamayim that you can win the war in Gaza with a little chupchik of a here in your own thoughts. Nah, come on. No, obviously not your own koyach. The tzaddik takes this and elevates it all the way up to the Shemayim. All the heavens are happy. The only one who is not amused is you. Everybody else is having a great time with this brilliant nakuda, which you don't even know that you did. Let's take a quick look at the Sichos Haran for this week. Share screen. Here we go. This is one of the more famous sichos in Sichos Haran, Sicha 220. Pamachat Omar le'echad, agaleh chasod, I'm going to let you on a secret. There's going to be big heresy in the world, and it come from the Shamayim. And the Epikosis will come for the Nisayan. That people will be tested. You know, there's a first nevuah. At the end of the days, many will be tested. And he says, I know that my people will be mechazik in emunah be'emes and will remain in their emunah. But I'm letting you know that people will mechazik even more when they'll see that they've spoken about it before. Rabbeinu said it again and again and again many times. I think the sikha that we already learned, but nevertheless. And you would sigh upon it and says, oy, how can few people stand against the entire world? And very close to the Stalkos, we saw immediately that great heresy started spreading all around. Something that hadn't happened almost ever. You see, especially the Enlightenment, quote unquote, the scholar, big Apikarsim, of horrible sfarim that they wrote, books that they wrote. He says at that time it wasn't so much in their own country, in Ukraine. It says, but after the stalkos of all and more great tzaddikim, it became more and more prevalent, even in our state. And all the tzaddikim and the El Chayidin in our generation are screaming like a banshee. The tzaddikim said nobody can listen to them. He says, woe to us, and this is something that happened in our generations. The Xero, that they're taking the children to learn, and they're teaching them their own teachings. He says, woe to us, what happened, but when the Seino Rabbim, Rabbeinu told us before in Ruach HaKodesh that this is what is happening. He says, and woe to what's going to happen. As Rabbeinu says, the Nevi'im said, Daniel says, Yisbaru v'yislavnu v'yisalfu Rabim. Many will be sifted and cleansed and burn away. The entire kavana is the Achrosim Am Yisrael will be tested in the Emunah. There will be many that will want to deceive us from Emunah Kedosha, which is the Epikorsim, the heretics, and the scientists nowadays. I mean, already told us that's going to be the Messiah. And he said, listen, it's already fitting that we should withstand the Messiah because we are already being foretold that this was going to happen. Still, it'll be a big Nisayan that many people will falter in it. So when we're writing it, so all the people who really want the Amos will be mechazik because they see, okay, they already foretold it, foreseen it from before. Will be nefesh to strengthen our hearts in this, as we got from our Rabbi Sein Zon Vlocha in the Gemara and in the Poskim. We see that this kind of heresies is the one who are doing the moifsim in our generation are the scientists. It seems to us they can do nothing wrong. How can you argue with what they do? They know everything. It was just October 7th, the vaunted Israeli Air Force, intelligence, infantry was stripped naked. About 1,500 people were burned, mutilated, tortured, Shem Yirachem. Where were you? Now they're waging a war. Yeah, but where are you? Where are the Bnei Torah? Why aren't you fighting? The question is, why aren't you sitting and learning? You want equality in Shivyon Banetel, equality in the weight that you have to carry. Sit down and learn. Sit down and learn for quite a few reasons. First of all, it is better to fight 1 hour with success than 100 hours without success. I don't care how vaunted you are, how incredible you are. You need Torah. Without Torah, you do not succeed. And malasot. If you want, fine. Look at it as this. Look at it. I mean, those who are fighting, Hashem Yishmor them. You cannot say anything to them. Listen, mother has a son in Gaza and is fighting. You cannot tell her anything. Oh, my son is more important than yours. You can't say that. Hashem Yishmor them, Bezat Hashem will guard him from all harm. But the point is that the soldiers in the Gaza cannot subsist without someone cooking their meals. They cannot subsist without somebody preparing their ammunition. They cannot subsist without somebody preparing the clothing for the. They cannot subsist without a whole, for every star you need a whole army of supporting cast. You have the people from intelligence. They don't never visit the fighting ground. I know, I was one. The cooks are in the back. Why didn't you have the cooks to take a gun and go into the tunnel? What do you mean? The Loim de Torah is Chel Torah. You have the Air Force, you have the Navy, you have the Torah Force. 30% of the army is actually fighting, 70% is a support role. The Loim de Torah is Chel Torah. Without it, there will be no success whatsoever. Take a look at what happened on October 7th. Take a look. This country exists on miracles. It's stuck to its place with spit. It's surrounded with enemies that keep on getting stronger and stronger all the time. Everybody hates us. Everybody hates us, and everybody hated us all along and will hate us forever. Until Mashiach will come, then they'll finally realize what the heck is going on. But it's very easy for people who are not really into Avodas Hashem to think, I have a point there, we should be going and fighting. No, you should go to yeshiva. Yeah, but what will you do with all the yeshivas where you have all these people that are not really fighting, they're not really learning? In the yeshivas, you have maybe, let's say, a yeshiva for 100 boys. Maybe you have like between 1 and 5, like really, really spitz. 10 that are actually serious, really serious. 20 to 30, which are okay. 70, which are basically there. Or another 50 is there. And in the very edges, you have those who, whenever you have the opportunity to go out to smoke cigarettes or whatever it is. So you say, maybe those in the edges, maybe they should join the army, Maybe. He says no. And the reason why not, there is something called the Pareto principle, the 80-20 principle. 80% of the money belongs to 20% of the people. And from those 20%, 80% of the money is in the hands of the 20% of those people, which means you have like 64%, in the hands of like 16% of the people. And then you have 80 and 20, so you have like 50% in the hands of like 3% of the people, and so on. And it's the same thing in the roads of the country. 80% of the traffic takes place on 20% of the road system. And within those roads, 80% is taking place on 20% of those. It's a fractal principle that keeps on going and going and going. The same thing is happening in every institution. Every yeshiva has this 80-20, 80-10, 90-10 kind of ratio between those, the nucleus that does the work, and the 80-90% which surrounds the nucleus and enables to happen. And now, if you have a shul of 100 people, if you have a shul of, or let's put it this way, if you're in a shul, you have like 4 or 5 people who are the Gaboyim, the shul will be maybe 50 people strong. There'll be another person added to the Gaboyim, the shul will grow to 60 or 70. Fluff around them. 10 people will be involved, the shul will grow to 100 people. The ratio between the ikr and the tofel, as it were, the active one and the passive one, is always 80-20, 90-10, around that. If those at the edges will leave, from 10 in the middle, it'll shrink down to 7 and to 5. You are a part of the yeshiva that makes the hard kernel of the grain of the mitzuyonim, of the excellent ones, exist by being the one who goes out and smokes a cigarette and really looks to get away from without learning, blah, blah, blah. You are needed there. The entire shir tonight was about, what about me that I'm such a klutz compared to this? You are needed. Every single yid is needed. Now the comment says, shivyon banetel, shivyon banetel, shmir banetel. Sit down on Torah, le'vi shivyon banetel. Until then, Hagish Kanchainik. Baruch Hashem should help us and save us and see Shabbat Tzlocha Rabba B'chol Ha'inyon. Shabbat a great week. This is Adar. They say in Adar, he says, especially when there's an Ibor Adar, we had a very difficult first part of the year. Rosh Hashanah, the first day of Rosh Hashanah was Shabbos, Noski Shefer. The Mekabalim say any year there is no Tkiyah Shefer the first day, because the first day is Dina Kasha, is a year of great danger. We know what happened. But now, Baruch Hashem, we're given 2 Adorim. There's a klal in Chas Kashrus that when something non-kosher falls into a vat that has kosher food in there, that is 60 times more than the non-kosher food, the non-kosher food becomes nullified. In other words, it becomes kosher. Imagine if you have, I don't know, a shtickle la leinu, something that falls in. He says, okay, maybe you're supposed to look for it to find. If you can see it, bavada, yeah, you can take it out. But if you don't see it, there's no problem. Even if you eat that piece, that piece becomes kosher. It's bottle b'shishin, become nullified b'shishin. So I doubt, I know about myself, I don't have a lot to be proud of. But we have 60 days of Adar. So they said, I don't know, the Chido says that whatever it is, that in 60 days of Adar, there are 2 Adarim, that Hashem will be bitul b'shishin. All the, things that we're not that proud of, Bezat Hashem will be bottled b'shishin, the 2 Adarim. Bezat Hashem, Yetz Hashem, Nisan. We're going to see great Nisan. Not only because of the soldiers, the politicians, or whatever it is, but despite them. Yishboch Hashem should be Mashiach us, all the sick people, that Hashem will have refuah, and all the injured will have refuah, and all the poor people shall have Yeshua, and all the children in yeshivas will all have Atzlacha Rabbah, B'chol, in everything that they do. You are very welcome to open up your microphones if you have anything to say or anything to ask, before you wrap this up. So go right ahead. Hello? Anyone? Okay. All right, בסדר גמור. I won't press you for it.
שבוע טוב, תודה רבה. Thank you
שבוע
very
טוב.
much.
בהצלחה רבה. בהצלחה.
אמן, אמן, אמן. כל טוב.
כל טוב. הצלחה בכל העניינים.
אמן, אמן. To you too.
אמן, אמן. Let's just stop.